Welcome back to another weekly wrap. I'm Letho and Up, and guys, let's talk about video games. We got 5 pieces of stories to go over. One that I pretty much kind of already went over, but just gonna do it one more time just in case you guys missed the video. And there's just a bunch of other news, some Nintendo stuff, some Xbox stuff, and more. Let's go ahead and jump into the very first bit of news, and that is a PlayStation State of Play happened this week, and it was focused on Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I did do a video on it, so go check that out for more notes and more details that I kind of shared about the game. This is a very, very quick and just concise and to the point kind of just details about the game. Essentially, customize your own wizard, which is probably the biggest thing for a Harry Potter fan that wants to see in a Harry Potter game. But you get to customize your own wizard. What's cool is on top of that, when you go into Hogwarts and everything, you do get to get the whole sorting hat treatment and get put into a house that they kind of deem you to be worthy in, which is pretty cool. I really liked it a lot. Aside from that, some interesting story tidbits is that it seems to be about dark wizards, goblins, some kind of rebellion, and what seems like a power struggle kind of fight for magic. Not sure exactly what that means, but it even kind of goes into what they kind of alluded to and kind of teased a bit, was that your character is going to be like, I think, a 5th-year student going in for the first time into Hogwarts, which is kind of weird because I think you're kind of skipping some years, but there's apparently some story tie-in with that. So it seems to have a bit of like an all over the place kind of interesting kind of story. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. Aside from that, they showed iconic locations, right? Hogwarts, of course, Hogwarts by itself. Before that, even outside of that, is Hogsmeade. They showed leaving the actual castle and being able to go into like the Forbidden Lands. And if you're familiar with the books, you know, all types of different locations that are outside of Hogwarts. It is going to be an absolute huge open world game, which I didn't know was going to be the case. I essentially thought Hogwarts was the main thing and being able to explore that, but they're going outside of that. They're introducing a lot of cool things. They're bringing in the flying, right, with the broomstick. No mention of Quidditch, but they showed Quidditch, so I'm excited because maybe we do get to have some Quidditch matches, but they didn't really go into detail about that. But just good to know that at least that Quidditch is going to be in there in some capacity. Aside from that, right, they did show Hogwarts itself is going to have like secret passages to kind of discover. They're going to have dungeons. There's going to be cool puzzles that you're going to have to kind of figure out using different spells. Speaking of spells, combat in this game. Now, a lot of people are thinking that the combat looks really like, I guess not like flashy and fancy. In my opinion, it kind of fits, at least what the movies kind of portrayed. Magic was never the most like craziest, like, unless you were Dumbledore, right? In the big Dumbledore fight where you were seeing him do all types of huge spells, but like typically there were some cool like quick animations for the most part. But the game kind of mimicked, I think, a lot of that. But the combat, really cool. You were doing combos, and I think the cool part about it was that they explained that you're going to be able to do mixing and matching of different spells. Like you were doing one type of spell that would combo into a cool finisher. Maybe you're doing like a defensive spell back to an offensive kind of spell. Like the way they show combat looks really cool. And again, I think it's probably the first I think I've seen for like a Harry Potter combat system. I mean, I'm trying to think of like the Lego games, and there's some kind of like, even trying to go past like the Game Boy games, right? The games from back in the day, there was just a flipendo, a one-time spell just to knock out an enemy or something like that. This is straight up like, you know, there's defending and attacking, timing your counterattacks, right? Doing a finisher. Like, it's so much more in depth, and it's really cool for that. Aside from that, there's gonna be potion brewing. You're gonna be able to get monsters. Even the potion brewing, they showed like actually drinking potions and mix that into your combat to get like buffs or to like turn your body into stone. Like there was just really cool ways that they're like really incorporating a lot of the stuff from like Harry Potter and, you know, the whole thing mixing with combat. Again, looks really cool, and I'm really excited for that. They did give us a release window, holiday 2022, which is the thing that I'm most scared about, just because holiday 2022 is essentially going to be the most packed I think it's been in a very long time in gaming, at least to me, because we have like Xbox and Bethesda with Starfield. Potentially Nintendo with Breath of the Wild 2. There's this game, right? I mean, we don't even know when the next Bayonetta game's gonna be coming out. Like that could potentially be coming out at the same time. Let me see, God of War Ragnarok. We don't have a release, but it's expected for this year. That could be a holiday game too. Like jam-packed holiday 2022. This could potentially be. So let me know your thoughts down below. Are you gonna be picking up Hogwarts Legacy? And if you are, again, from my last video, I said, you know, let me know the details. I'd love to read about it. Drop it down below in the comment section. Next up, more Sega Genesis games are going to be added to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. This is coming from the official Nintendo Twitter account. 3 Sega Genesis games have been made available. There's Light Crusader, Super Fantasy Zone, and Alien Soldier. Basically, it ends off with just saying, which game are you going to be playing first? What's really cool is, they've been consistent. If I'm not mistaken, they've been consistent every month with adding Sega Genesis games and N64 games. They even went back and added Earthbound for the SNES, even though that's been like the first game in a very long time that they've added, but they did. But the point is, they're really trying to push and make that expansion pack's value really worth it. And I kind of give them some props just for the fact that they're being consistent, with at least even Sega Genesis. I expect N64 has to be consistent, right? They have to, kind of make that promise and prove that, like, hey, expansion pack is worth it. Because there's some people who aren't going to get out of, like, the DLC stuff, which is the other part of it too, right? They did add the whole Mario Kart 8, the extra tracks. Was it 48 bonus tracks, I think? If you want to get that separately, you can just get that with your expansion pack if you have it. So the value for it is, I think it's starting to get there. I still am not sold on it, but again, they're doing some cool things, right? We talked about in the last weekly wrap that they added the whole icon customization with reward points and everything. They're revamping some things, like the game trial games are becoming a lot better too. So I don't know, I think they're doing a lot better job, but you guys give me your thoughts about that down below. Going into story number 3, Game Pass is also getting more games. This is kind of also mixed in with the ID at Xbox event that just happened too. They announced a lot of cool independent games that are coming out, especially the Game Pass, and so this list kind of is a lot of those games mixed in. So we're going to be getting Shredders. That is coming to cloud, PC, and the Xbox for Game Pass. That was also from ID at Xbox. That should be happening, should have happened already March 17th. There's the Tainted Grail Conquest. That should be coming out for Xbox. That is March 22nd. Zero Escape, The Nonary Games. That is going to be a cloud, console, and PC. That's March 22nd. Let's see, there's also Narco, F1 2021. There's going to be Crusaders Kings 3. That is from Xbox 2 cloud. Or no cloud, but just Xbox Game Pass. That is March 29th. There's also going to be Weird West, and that is cloud, console, and PC. March 31st. Again, Game Pass available, cloud, console, and PC. If you don't have Xbox, you have a PC, at least a decent one, go ahead and check out the specs for it. You can get Game Pass on there, and then there's cloud. And, potentially whatever else they could be working on, because there's a lot of talk right now that Xbox is working on another, I don't want to say console, but they seem to be working on another piece of hardware, which I personally think, which makes the most sense. If you guys are familiar with like an Amazon Fire Stick, something like that to kind of just plug into your TV, and probably more cloud-based if anything, but be able to play those Game Pass games right on your PC or right on your TV. So I guess, give me your thoughts. I don't know. For a while, I've always said Game Pass is it's such a good deal, especially for independent games. Like, look how many games that have been announced are going to get a lot of like showcase and a lot of promotion through Game Pass. I think it's still a really good deal. So again, give me and drop down your thoughts down below. Number 4 is action RPG. Elden Ring has sold 12 million units worldwide. This is huge, and I got a cool little piece of excerpt from the official From Software press release. I thought we'd kind of read it here real quick. Again, this is from the official press release. This is from the company, pretty much just giving some insight and just their thoughts and stuff like that. We're going to begin with this. Elden Ring was created under the guidance of From Software's Miyazaki, incorporating the expansive worldview through the eyes of George R.R. Martin, who is the author of fantasy novel A Song of Fire and Ice. I cannot believe I always mess up From Software like that. While applying From Software's expertise in developing pulse-pounding, action-based titles, and with the game's vast and explorative world filled with excitement and adventure, customers worldwide have been showering the game with praise for its unprecedented and overwhelmingly gameplay experience. Simultaneous release of the game in 14 languages, coupled with the worldwide network test prior to release, raised expectations to bring about the sales of more than 12 million units worldwide. Let me see. Aside from this, they also look forward to more of Elden Ring as an IP, characters, and intellectual property in hopes of expanding beyond the realms of games, which is pretty cool. It seems like they want to take Elden Ring, take the lore of it, and potentially, make movies or maybe make TV shows out of it, which is absolutely huge. I'm so happy for From Software. If I don't mess up the name again, From Software. I'm happy for Mr. Miyazaki. The success. Even Bandai is really happy about it too. 12 million units sold, more than 12 million units sold. That is huge for a Souls game. You know, typically they don't, you know, go crazy like that. This has been for the longest time a very niche kind of genre. You know, only so many people kind of like this. They've had such an amazing community that I will say that it's, the Souls community is amazing. But it's gone mainstream, and it's, you can see here the sales absolutely nuts for a game that just came out. What, it's been 2 weeks maybe, or yeah, I think it's been about 2 weeks now. Absolutely crushing it. That's awesome to hear. If you haven't played it, definitely maybe go check it out if you want to give it a shot. You know, I think initially I did say, even on the podcast, I was like, this is a game where if you're not a Souls person, it's basically a Souls game. Like, you're gonna have to, you know, be ready for that kind of take with it. But as I've played it and I've beaten it twice now, I can definitely say that, like, this is definitely different from the, you know, typical Souls experience, where you do get to explore, you do get to kind of level up and make it a little bit easier to tackle on those, you know, those big boss fights, which is where the big challenge usually is. So it is different. It is definitely, I would say at this point now, more of a newer experience. So definitely, you know, give it a shot if you're thinking about getting into the Souls games. We can go into story number 5, and this is the final story, but it's a pretty important story. Xbox's new studio, The Initiative, is losing a lot of developers. This is from Andy Robinson over at VGC. As much as half the core development team, known to be working on the upcoming Perfect Dark reboot, quit the company during the last year. Around 36 people, according to updates of employees' LinkedIn profile pages. Some of it includes the most of the Initiative's senior design team, including the game's director, Dan Newberger, the design director, Drew Murray, lead level designer, Chris O'Neill, principal world builder, Joylyn Myers, 2 senior system designers, a group of 3 former God of War designers, and much more. The Initiative is now less than 50 people. The timing of the departures coincided with the September 2020 announcement of Crystal Dynamics that had been signed to co-develop Perfect Dark. Interviews with multiple former senior developers cited a lack of creative autonomy and a slow development progress as a reason for their departures, and described the wave of exits as fast and furious, with project momentum said to be heavily affected. This is a pretty big, pretty big tough thing, especially for Xbox Game Studios. They did build up this brand new studio. This was the whole rumored, was a quadruple A studio, which a lot of people are like, no, they didn't say that. But it was definitely kind of, touted out to be a really top of the line studio, which, it's very unfortunate, this is something that does happen. If you've been reading around a lot, you do hear a lot of, trying to make these brand new studios, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. Sometimes a lot harder than, it's a lot easier said than done. And especially, it seemed like there's a lot of world-class designers, coming together to make on this project. There could have been a lot of, head bashing, but it does also kind of seem like, they even mentioned there's a lot of a top-down kind of issue, right? A kind of a higher up management problem. And it just seems like maybe there's just a lot of butting of heads potentially. It's very unfortunate. Stuff like that does happen. It does seem like Crystal Dynamics is going to be taking a lot more of the development now. So this kind of think it might be more of a Crystal Dynamics kind of game. Hopefully, I think of Crystal Dynamics, and I think a lot of people just jump to the fact that, oh no, like Marvel's Avengers, but they've had some other pretty good games too, right? There's the whole Tomb Raider series that a lot of people liked, and so we'll definitely have to see how this goes. I want to stay positive about it. This is a game where I think if it was meant to come out now or maybe the next year or two, would not be surprised if this is pushed back even further, because I don't even know where they're at in development. Some have said it's still in mid development. Some have said it's in late development. I guess we'll definitely know more probably come this summertime, around what would be the E3 time, which is when I think Microsoft, for the most part, gives a lot of updates for a lot of their big games. And so I'm looking forward to hearing about this. More importantly for me, I want to hear more about Fable. That is my big one that I want to know. Hey, how's that going? Because I haven't heard anything about it. So definitely I expect hopefully some updates on some of their upcoming games. But this is just one of those unfortunate things. Now, before we end off here, games that released this past week. We had Persona 4 Arena Ultimax that dropped on PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. And then we also had Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin that dropped pretty much on all consoles, and that is on March 18th. So go check those out if you haven't already. But guys, be sure to give us your thoughts down below. Anything I missed, let me know down below as well. Again, some pretty cool stories. And guys, I am Letho and up. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you guys in the next weekly wrap. Peace.